Hey there. Welcome to the Gyro Step, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast, proudly a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and GSPN. And I just want to say, GSPN, home of some fantastic Milwaukee Brewers, Green Bay Packers content. We've been letting you know. Go check out Cruising for a Bruisin' and Talk of the Tundra. But let me be clear. That's a meme. I forget what it's from. Anyway, we're still going to be here, Gyro Step and Win in 6, covering the Milwaukee Bucks all offseason. I mean, we think it's going to be quite an eventful offseason. I don't want anyone to think that we're not going to be bringing the Bucks coverage every single week, probably multiple times a week, because we will. I am Ti Windisch, one of the 4 people doing that, joined by another one of the 4, my fantastic co-host, Rohan and Katti, here at the Gyro Step. Rohan, how's it going, sir?
It feels weird to be in off-season mode.
Yeah.
It feels really weird. There's still like we're recording before the first round is even over.
Yeah.
Like Game 7 of Kings Warriors is gonna happen as we're recording this, and it's weird time, but we're here.
Literally, as we record, everyone is kind of freaking out during Heat Knicks. Like, oh, are the Heat just good? And it's like, yeah, did you not see the first round? I mean, it was a Bucks collapse, and we're going to cover that collapse at least one more time here today with a new tradition here at the Gyro Step. But yeah, they're pretty good, pretty hard to beat team, very resilient. But what we're here to do is determine Bucks stock market playoff valuation. So we've never done this before. If you're not aware at all, you can find all this as well as links to all of our stuff at gspn.info, including the Bucks stock market. But every regular season game, we determine stock results for the Bucks players and coaches and executives, etc. That, an up stock or more than one up stock is good. A down stock or more than one down stock is bad. We take into account what we expect from those players, thus their total. We do a what was the thing we did before the season? Now I can't.
An IPO.
IPO. Thank you. To determine this, it's a very fun way. It's our way of bringing post-game coverage for every game, even though we don't do a podcast every single game these days. We do for the playoffs. We don't do stocks, but we decided let's go back through the series and assign those stock values retroactively, not game by game, but just for the series as a whole to kind of give that extra evaluation of every Bucks player from the series. I think I capped mine at least 10 minutes per game, or 10 total minutes, Rohan. I'm guessing you probably did the same. I think Marjan Beauchamp, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Myers Leonard, Goran Dragic all played less than that. Not enough to have, they're all no movement from us. You can expect that. And before we get into the results, I didn't evaluate Mike Budenholzer on this metric. Usually we would, but as The Athletic and others reported, Darvin Ham actually first shared the news over the weekend. Budenholzer lost his brother right before Game 1 of the Bucks Heat series. It was before Game 4?
I thought so.
I have The Athletic up. Oh, no, you're right. Before Game 4, excuse me. Before Game 4 of the series. So, obviously, Game 4 and 5 were the 2 worst games for the Bucks. Also, Bud was going through an atrocious time as well, off the court entirely. I think there's obviously been a bunch of coaching dialogue already about what went wrong for the Bucks, about if they may need to make a coaching change, all of these things. We're just going to take some time off of that. I think it's really the least we can do, given I already felt for Bud, given, his performance and how upset people get, how mad fans get about coaching, how mad analysts have even gotten about coaching and some of the nasty things said. And now, of course, with this news as well, it's really a maelstrom. So I think we'll get to all of those convos. As you said, Rohan, we have an unfortunately long offseason to do so, but we're just going to set that aside for now, just out of respect and trying to give some time on that matter.
And I would encourage all of you to do the same.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So, of course, we at the Gyro Step at GSPN wish Mike Budenholzer the best. This is much bigger than basketball. Life is more important. And at the end of the day, we all want the best for Bud, regardless of, where he's coaching at in the future, whatever. Like, all accounts are, he's a fantastic human being. Certainly doesn't deserve to go through this. No one does. So, all the best to Bud. Really, really hoping that everything ends up okay over there. So with that out of the way and coaching set aside, Rohan, How do you want to start this? I kind of just went through in a somewhat random order. Do you want to just trade, picking a player to discuss? What are your thoughts for how we should proceed? Oh, and did I say the barometer yet?
I mean, sort of.
Between 4 and -4 is where we came in. I did not have any that were up to 4, so mine all fell between 3 and -3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't say anyone performed the max performance in that series whatsoever. No. Should we start at the top? I'll let you go first, but we should probably start with Giannis.
I'm fine starting with Giannis. I think this actually probably won't take as long as it typically would. Of course, we didn't see as much Giannis. Barely played in game 1. I didn't think it was even really, eval worthy. Comes back for 4 and 5. The Bucks lose both of those games. Giannis was phenomenal early in game 5 and then really bad late in game 5. I almost was no valuation, to be honest, but ended up at -1. I just thought the way he played late in game 5, with it being an elimination game at home, meant that he couldn't be a no eval or no valuation or a positive. I didn't want to take a ton of points off, though, because I didn't think he was horrible throughout the series or anything. He still had whatever it was, 38 and 20 in game 5. I mean, they might just get blown out if he doesn't play in that game. So I thought -1, it was worse than I expected from Giannis on the whole, but the sample size was basically 2 games, and it's not like he was atrocious. He ended on a sour note, and that really is probably the biggest reason I went that way.
Yeah, -1 I think is fair because, like you mentioned, we don't have a large sample size. And was he bad at moments? Yes. Yeah. Was he absolutely electric at moments? Yes. Was he hurt? Yes.
Yeah.
Like, all of these things need to be taken into consideration. And at the end of the day, I think it's fair to say that he is a negative in the stock market because it wasn't his best. It wasn't his best playoff series by far. We know he was hurt. We have to take that into consideration. However, he did play.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did play.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I'm glad you said it. I guess I alluded to, but didn't outright say he was clearly playing through the back injury, and it was noticeable more so in 4 than 5. But I'm sure it didn't just go away in 2 days after a full game of basketball 2 days ago. So yeah, I think even given the context, just the way Game 5 went just wasn't good enough. And Game 4 I thought was just fine. So I think -1 works for Giannis. Reminder, as with regular season games, the bar for Giannis is ungodly high because we think he's the best player in the world, and he's the pod's named after him. All these things. So -1 is not
I mean, it could be named after Thanasis. We've seen him do a Gyro Step before.
Yorgos Kalaitzakis. I mean, there's pretty limited options. Yeah. Let's get
it's actually named after Alex.
That could be named after Alex. Maybe Kostas will come eventually. I'm still hoping. Be a fun backup center. Anyway, I want to get this one over with. I think it's probably the biggest long-term takeaway, I think, has to do with this player from the series. Jrue Holiday.
-4.
I did -3.
I did -4. It was despicable. It was atrocious. Fair. It was atrocious. It was awful. It was one of the worst playoff series I've ever seen from a Bucks point guard, and we watched Eric Bledsoe for years. Like, not only is he being a liability on the offensive end, he's just giving buckets on the defensive end. Like, sure, he's trying. It's not working at all. Nothing he was doing was actually worth a damn in either facet of the game, offensively or defensively. Like, sure, he did a cool step back 3, like in the fourth quarter. It's like, cool, you went 1 for 20 before that. It's like, you're still at 2 for 20. I mean, obviously that's hyperbolic, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
It's not that far off. Yeah.
I'm honestly, I'm still upset about it. Like, it's a -4 for me, pretty comfortably.
I want us to come to consensus on these. I thought he was okay in the first 2 games, but then a lot worse after that. Passing, he had like a 13 assist game.
I mean, sure.
What was he in game 2? What was he in the win? I'm going to look up that game specifically.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about this today, Ty. I'm glad I went to the only game they won.
Yeah, they should have gotten you out there for more. I would have said Jordan, but that didn't work so well. He was good in the win. 10 for 19 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, 11 assists, team high plus 28.
His best game is like what would be considered like average?
I mean, 24 and 11 is a pretty good game for Jrue Holiday. It's not average. It's above average.
He's an all-star. Like, he averaged around 20 and 10.
He did not average around 20 and 10. He averaged 19 and 7.
That's close enough.
That's a big difference in assists. I'll track these.
I'm just upset, Ty. I'm upset with Jrue Holiday. I'm very upset with Jrue Holiday. But we also have to take into consideration he was the second highest valued player on the stock market.
Yeah. All right. -4. I'll acquiesce to you on this one. And that is, I thought of it coming in like he was supposed to be the Bucks' second best player, right? Because Chris, who will probably get to next, the injuries all along, we didn't know really what we were going to get from Chris by and large. Jrue had to be the guy he was for the regular season, but for the third straight postseason, his offensive efficiency
he was the worst in the starting five.
Dropped
he was
off.
The worst player in the starting five.
Yeah. Okay. All right. -4. You're still more upset than I am. I'm just like, I don't know, sad.
I mean, sad, but sure. I mean, like you mentioned when we're getting into it, this is the player that has the biggest long-term takeaways for us, because the Bucks, like they're tied to the score, and like let's just talk about Chris Middleton now. Let's transition into that, because all regular season we were always thinking, oh man, Jrue's taking the mantle. He did in the regular season. He did take the mantle. He was the Bucks' second best player, like you mentioned. That was not the case in the postseason.
No.
Not at all. Chris Middleton rose to the occasion. Was he the Bucks' second best player in the postseason? Debatable. But he was higher than Jrue Holiday.
I would think he might have been their first best player in the postseason.
No.
It wasn't a perfect series from him. The defense is obviously a question. I'll go through some lines quickly. So Giannis was 23, 11, and 5. And again, that's brought down by only playing a little bit of game 1. Jrue was 17, 6, 8 assists. And then Chris led the Bucks in scoring in the playoffs, 23.8 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, 6.2 assists. So, a good defensive team in Miami didn't have Giannis for half the series. Chris was still nearly 24, 6, and 6. That's like a really good series for a healthy Chris. I mean, that's good. 46% from the field, 30% from deep, 86% from free throw, and he got there 30 times over the course of the series, which is only one less than Giannis. The defense was bad. They need to figure out ways to hide him better defensively. They need to give him better matchups, like Max Strus and Duncan Robinson were nightmares. Offensively, he was their best and most consistent player. And I'd say the closest one might not even have been Giannis.
No, I think the closest was Brook, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But Chris, like you mentioned, he answered the call offensively. He stepped up when they needed him to step up. And this guy's on like one knee.
Yeah, seriously.
He's on one knee like a shell of himself physically, and he's still out there getting buckets and performing way better than someone who has made the All-Star team this year.
Yeah. Where did you have him as?
I had him as a +2.
I also had him as a +2. The defense was too bad for it to be higher.
Yes.
But I just feel like I can live with that given the offense from almost – actually, what was depressing looking through this?
Everything?
A lot of players shot well from 3. Like, it wasn't the normal Bucks, like, oh, it's just, everyone shot 28%. And that's why, like, a lot of guys shot positive. I mean, Jrue Holiday very much did not and probably tanked the team average by himself. But they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the players we're going to talk about out of 11 shot 40% or higher from 3. Like, they wasted good shooting for once.
Yep, they did. This is depressing, Ty.
But Chris Middleton's performance was not, and
no, it was not. It was a good sign going forward, especially because Chris is a guy like we're going to talk about big decisions coming up this offseason. So it was great to see him actually perform well when the games mattered the most, especially going into a summer of fun contract decisions.
And I need to look this up more, and I will as we get closer to the real moves happening. I mean, we have there's already rumors about Jalen Green potentially being on the market for a star, and the Rockets' interest in Chris. Like, there's going to be a lot for us to talk about. I think we're probably going to go into full, like, blogger # trade rumors season at some point. Not quite yet. We still have some hoop we can discuss here. But I think the CBA makes it easier to extend a player who opts in to a player option at less money, which normally you couldn't do. Or maybe he can opt out and sign that way. Like, there's some change that relaxed that specific mechanism, which could certainly come into play with Chris Middleton. I hope he's on the team next year and beyond, because I truly think giving him his normal offseason, now that he's going into an offseason without some injury, which was not the case last year, I think he'll be able to get through his offseason, go through his normal routine, and avoid this horrible delayed ramp-up thing that kept happening last season to him. I think we might see an even better Chris this year than we did last year. I really believe that. And also, selfishly, I think I'll just always want Chris and Giannis around. So I think Chris certainly picked up his estimation in the eyes of us and should be pretty much any Bucks fan. I think Chris should be on the team next year for sure. Obviously, there's a lot to consider in terms of moves and getting younger, that sort of thing. But Chris was great. So offensively, at least.
He was. He showed up, and it's like you mentioned he'll probably have a better season next season than this past. It's a low bar.
It's true. Yeah.
It's a very low bar, considering this guy is a 3-time All-Star.
How about this? He could have a better playoffs next year than he had playoffs this year. That's a different level. That's fair. Yeah.
And we know this guy is a constant playoff riser.
Yes.
Like, we've seen it. We've seen it time in, time out. And it's just, I'm still upset about Jrue Holiday, man.
Yeah.
I'm still upset. We've seen this for 7 straight years of Bucks point guards?
Yeah. They should have given Brandon Knight a chance. He could have been our one. I think Brandon Knight would have been a playoff hooper.
Yeah. You don't need to convince me about Brandon Knight, man.
Okay. I'll save it for Adam. I'll save it for Adam.
I'm on your side with that one.
Speaking of
Tyler
Adam,
Ennis doing these days?
Maybe matchmaking. That's what we know him as being most effective at. Do you remember that story from Miran's book?
Oh, yep.
99% sure Tyler Ennis introduced Giannis and Mariah. 99% sure, without looking.
I think it was Tyler Ennis,
yeah. So that is the most gifted skill we've seen from Tyler Ennis. Speaking of Adam McGee, let's go to something Adam would like. Brook Lopez. So I found this one actually very difficult because statistically, you could give Brook a +4. Let me just read this. I didn't realize the numbers looked like this. I looked at the numbers and I adjusted what I had him at. 19 points, second on the team. 6.4 rebounds, which is tied for fourth, I believe. 1.2 assists. Yeah, it's Brook Lopez. He had a total of 16 stocks, 7 steals, 9 blocks, which means that's like almost 4 stocks per game. Shot 58% from the field, 41% from 3, 77% from the stripe against the Heat. Despite those numbers being phenomenal, I went +2.
I went +2 as well.
The defense was not, despite the stock numbers being gaudy, he had some great moments. It was not as impactful, especially against Jimmy Butler, as we would have expected.
Maybe plus the deep drop as well. Maybe that's not his fault, but like, come on.
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking it should be +3 though, because I don't think he was bad. I just think he wasn't able to take away Jimmy Butler, which nobody on the team was.
Also, third highest stock valuation.
But he was good. Sophie's making an appearance for YouTube viewers.
I was going to say, if you're not watching on YouTube, you need
She's
to
pissed.
right now.
She heard a noise. She wants to go bark at it. Go on. Be free. But I'm thinking maybe +3 for Brook.
It might be. He was a playoff riser.
The stocks regular season are what they are. I don't think anyone expected 19 a game from Brook with Giannis going down. Like, he really did step up. And bless you, Rohan. YouTube watchers are just getting a whole treat. If you were allergic to dogs, that would be like a wild, like, did Dander just go through Zoom? What a crazy coincidence. But I just think while Brook wasn't as impactful defensively, he wasn't bad defensively. No,
that's fair. That's fair. I mean, to be fair, Jimmy was destroying him at the rim.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of ridiculous how well Jimmy Butler was doing at the rim against Brook Lopez. He was above 70% at one point in the series.
I want to see. I need full series net ratings. I'm just interested to see how that looked. I'm gonna look that up quick.
But yeah, it's tough when it comes to that because, like we mentioned, the defense wasn't the best from Brook Lopez. And like I mentioned, Jimmy was doing whatever he wanted to Brook Lopez. And if we're gonna hold that against Jrue, we need to hold that against Jimmy Butler as well. I mean, Brook Lopez as well.
Ooh, they got torched in his minutes.
Yeah, they did.
They actually won Jrue's minutes, which seems impossible.
It makes me hate +/-.
Barely, yeah. Chris had the best net rating on the team, which is not surprising.
No, that's not surprising at all. But I think +2 is probably fair, honestly.
Yeah, I'll give up the +3 push. I originally had +1 because my thought from just like thinking about it and assigning them before I dug in was the defense wasn't as impactful, but he wasn't bad overall, so I'll just say +1. I think the offense was good enough to justify +2, even if defensively, it was good by Brook. I'd say it was like probably below what you would expect from Brook Lopez. Not bad, but not changing the series defensively. So yeah, I think +2 is fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Who should we go to next?
Your son?
My son, Grayson Allen, who this is going to get lost to history because the Bucks lost as a 1 seed. But Grayson Allen had a phenomenal series, in my opinion. I had him as a +2.
So I put +1. I think you could pretty easily convince me, though. Sell me on Grayson Allen. Sell me this pen. Sell me on Grayson Allen +2.
So Grayson Allen not only was sure, he had his shooting struggles at times during the series. Who didn't? However, he was doing all the things he needed to do. He was playing defense. He was when Chris Middleton was struggling to chase guys around screens, they switched that up to having Grayson Allen do that. And once they did that, the Bucks kind of took that away from Miami. He was doing a good job at sort of navigating screens, getting around screens, staying attached to guys like Duncan Robinson and Max Strus. Grayson Allen was actually he was putting in maximum effort.
Yeah.
And doing well. And that's been always the one knock on Grayson, right? Is defense. He locked in on defense. He was making the hustle plays. He was getting some steals. There was a moment in game 5 where it's Grayson Allen himself went on a run. Mm-hmm. And it was just you need these type of moments from your role players to be able to succeed. And Pat had his moments too. We'll talk about Pat later. But I thought Grayson did a great job of finding his spots and sort of being a guy who could be consistently relied upon. He was not getting played off the floor at all in the series. The Heat could not hunt him on defense, and he was showing up on the offensive side of the floor, which is why I went +2. It wasn't incredibly an incredible performance from Grayson Allen, but it was good. It was solid. He was a difference maker for the Bucks.
I think you got me. I think he did what they needed him to do, and that's impressive versus the last time we saw Grayson in the playoffs. Scored nearly 12 a game, added in 2.5 rebounds, nearly 2 assists, shot 40.
Couple tap outs for offensive rebounds as well. That's something he was really he doesn't get credit for it because he's just tapping the ball. But all season long, the Bucks had their guards tap out for offensive rebounds, and the guy who had the most success with that was Grayson Allen.
Was able to play 30 minutes a game, which speaks to not getting played off the floor. I mean, that's a lot of minutes for Grayson. For any context. 48%,
especially with the Bucks having a deep wing, the supposedly deep.
We'll get
deep
there.
Wing rotation.
Made more threes than any other player on the team, despite only taking 20. He was 14 for 29. Yeah, he was effective. I mean, he couldn't keep up with Hero, but obviously, Tyler Hero ends up getting hurt game 1, and that doesn't end up mattering as much. I'll move it up to +2. I think versus expectations, this was an impressive performance, and no player is super safe, I think, outside of Giannis. But if Grayson's again on the team next year, it's not something I'd be worried about. I'd feel pretty good about it. Maybe he's either the 5th starter or the 6th man. He's probably not someone who's going to close all the time. But taking that into consideration, I think he's a pretty good option to be your 6th most important player or 7th most important player on your team. That's, I think, pretty good. And he lived up to that in this series. That's for sure.
And if we're talking about expectations, think about the last time we saw Grayson Allen in the playoffs.
Looked like a different player than that guy for sure. Looked a lot more, even with the similar context of Giannis missing time, right? It's not like he wasn't in that perfect situation we said we wanted to see from him, where he's out there with 2 of the big 3 all the time and there's less pressure. Maybe they asked him to do a little less. I mean, he didn't have the ball in his hands too much, but he was able to be effective nonetheless. So I think +2 is fair for Grayson Allen.
Okay. Where should we go next?
Pat counted it?
Yeah, that's fair.
I had +3.
+3? I had +2 for sort of the same reasons, but convince me of the +3 because I'm easily convinced.
Well, versus expectations was part of it, and Pat was on a declining run, one of the longest down streak runs in the Bucks stock market this past season. Just really wasn't good toward the end of the year. Lost his rotational role. We saw the playoff rotation against Boston, Philly, and then game 1, Miami, didn't include Pat at all. And he scrapped back for some minutes game 2 and immediately was that guy again who was making plays even when he wasn't shooting the ball well in some games, probably only one game, but he did shoot the ball well overall. 56% from the field. 56% from the field. That's a ridiculous number. That is that first among actual players? Oh no, Brook Lopez with 58%. So higher than Giannis, lower than Brook. Marjon was 66% in 5 minutes. # soon. But really effective scoring the ball from 2 and 3. 47% from deep. 75% of his free throws. 7 to 2 assist turnovers. 5 rebounds a game. I just think Pat is still nails. He's still such a winning player. And whereas maybe it would have been +2 because it's not like he swung the series by himself, although he did make a big difference in game 2 when the Bucks did seem to finally take some momentum. Pat did I think the expectations is what changes it one even more for me. And I think overall he was a little better than Grayson, even though Grayson was very good. Pat scored 12 points per game. He played 8 less minutes than Grayson. So he was really productive when he was out there. He probably should have played more, but I'm not going to hold that against him because it's not like his level of play was the reason his minutes were low. He clearly should have been playing more throughout the series. And I think it's just very encouraging to see him back at this level again.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a fair argument. I mean, yeah, I think the expectations is what really puts him at a +3.
Yeah.
Considering like you had mentioned, he was just on such a massive down streak, and we were okay with that. We were absolutely okay with that, considering we thought the Bucks had a gluttonous wing rotation, which I'm still upset about, but we'll get into. But yeah, I think +3 is fair. Pat Connaughton is nails, like you said, and yeah. Yep.
If only we're running out of good things to talk about. So I have one more plus. Do you want to go through some minuses so we don't have to go through 4 straight to end this?
Sure. Let's talk about the most negative.
Left.
Yeah. Yeah, most negative left.
Yeah, you'll have to talk me down one more. I have -3 on Jae Crowder.
-3. Okay, let's talk about him. Because I have Jae Crowder at -4.
I don't even think he got enough of a chance to get -4.
Okay, that's fair.
That's my whole thing. He was bad. Don't get me wrong. He was
the worst player in the series.
Yes, 100%. But he only got 41 minutes.
And in those 41 minutes, he was the worst player on the court.
I agree. Shot 23% from the field, 0% from 3. Got back cut to death on defense. Didn't make a difference defending on or off ball. I mean, a negative difference was all he made.
What's his purpose here? Play like you normally play, Jae Crowder. How about that?
I mean, he fired up shots too. He took 13 shots in 41 minutes. That's a lot of shots. Probably should have taken less shots. Missed almost all of them. There was a point, was that game 3 when he missed the floater and it totally turned the game? The Bucks had cut it to 7, and it would have been 5,
7.
I think.
It would have been a 5-point game, yeah.
And then they come back and hit a 3 after he misses a floater from 3 feet away.
It wasn't even a floater, Ty. It's a layup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it technically was a floater, but it's a little bunny. It's a bunny.
Yeah.
Just put the ball in the damn basket, my guy. You can't call yourself Boss Man 99 then miss wide open bunnies and then get DMPs. You're I don't even know what's the opposite of boss man. Employee man 0-0.
Employee boy 0-0.
Employee.
He said he would come back, which I find fascinating. I wonder
because he said he loves the guys, but it's also probably him saying I can't disparage this team.
Well, also it's probably him realizing how bird rights work and going well, it's MLE or this probably.
Yeah, it's Guangdong or this.
I don't know if he's going to be back. That was pretty bad on all fronts. I don't know if either side is really interested, despite what he said. It's nice that he enjoyed the locker room atmosphere and everything, but he's just bad. I mean, he got to the line.
He got a lot of time in the locker room.
Yes.
He got to spend a lot of time talking to his guys on the bench.
Yes. It sucks. He just really played poorly in those 41 minutes. I thought it was the right choice to not play him more than that. But I'm not giving him the full -4 because he wasn't a factor in the 2 games that mattered the most in the series. And I just think for that reason, I don't know if he might have cost them game 3 to some extent, but they also weren't good enough. Like, if we're comparing him to all-time failure pickups, I think Mirotic was worse just because he had the opportunity to play more and was, like, totally killing them. I don't think Jae is the reason that they lost. Again, you could maybe say game 3 where he totally biffed that layup and it turned the game. They might have lost that game anyway. They obviously won game 2. I don't think he was the reason they lost game 1. So I'm just going to go -3 because, like, I think you can look at Jrue and say him playing this way is why they lost multiple games. I think that's fair. Maybe it's extreme, but I think it's fair. I don't think the same of Jae. So although I was very disappointed, I'm going -3. If he had played a lot in game 4 and 5 and been bad, maybe I'll go -4. I think the Bucks protected him from that to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's fair. Maybe I'm just upset.
That's fair.
I'm just upset because
there's going to be people who are mad both ways about this one.
I had tied my. I said I was going to get a custom Boss Man 99 jersey tie.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and does this.
Remember, I was going to get this poster. It's still on the ground over here next to me. What am I going to do? I still don't know what I'm going to do with this. No, the question has not been answered.
I think we need, before training camp starts, we need to have a ritualistic burning.
I kind of want to store it so someone can uncover it in 100 years and be like, what is this? When was Joe Ingles on the Bucks? Maybe he'll come back. Who knows? Maybe. But
is that a good segue?
Yeah, let's talk about Joey Jingles. This was a hard one to do as well.
I said -1.
I said no movement.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I don't think he had a good series. He shot the ball well, which was, I think if he didn't, he would have been totally unplayable. He shot 52% from the field, 50% from deep, 10 assists, 6 turnovers, though. Did turn the ball over too much. I just thought that he wasn't given the opportunity to be on the ball, which is where his value lies, and that didn't allow him to show anything off. I don't know if he was a problem. I think he had bad games. He had some big shots as well.
He made his dumb mistakes that he always does. Here's my thing about being on the ball. It's fair. It's very fair. I think the best value of Joe Ingles is him having the ball in his hands, and he's shown that in his time with the Bucks, even in this postseason. However, the Heat were pressuring the ball so much, and Joe Ingles is not nearly athletic enough to like actually put on some dribble moves to actually get by guys.
Yeah. He needs screens, that's for sure.
They need screens, and it's like that's what you have to match Joe and Brook's minutes. However, when you get into a Joe Brook pick and roll, like that is probably the least athletic combination in the league.
For sure.
I mean, like think on a given team. I could think of like, I don't know, DJ Augustine, Udonis Haslem.
I think it Haslem too. I was like, Miami might have one to rival this, to be honest.
But they don't have the point guard on their team. Is that less athletic? I'm trying to think. No, I can't think of it. Like it's UD he's got to be the screener.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to.
Kevin Love UD pick and roll.
Yeah, that'd be pretty slow.
They went to they didn't go to that. They went to Kevin Love Bam pick and roll. Kevin Love UD pick and roll might rival it.
I hear Kevin Love is like slinging outlet passes and playing well against the Knicks. The Heat won.
They won. They win game 1.
Yeah.
I hate that. Apparently Jimmy turned his ankle.
What happened?
Jimmy turned his ankle.
And they still won?
Yep.
So I think they might win the East, to be honest.
I mean, Eric Spoelstra, I have this tweet on my timeline as we're reading this. It's Eric Spoelstra's reaction to Jimmy Butler turning his ankle with 5 minutes left. It's just Spoelstra mouthing the F word.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, give him off game 2, see what happens. I mean, it'll probably take longer. That sucks. I still think they might win the East. They still
might win the East.
I mean, Philly's cooked.
Yeah.
Embiid's out game 1, maybe longer.
I'd say at least game 1 and 2.
Yikes.
Just can we turn off injuries?
This has been such a terrible playoffs. For Julius Randle didn't play in this game either, right?
No, he did not.
Yeah.
Maybe he's good to go game 2.
I mean, the Grizzlies lost a ton of guys. Warriors and Kings are relatively healthy for now.
I mean, De'Aaron Fox is playing with a broken finger.
That's true. All right, never mind.
I think the Warriors are the most healthy team.
Nuggets.
Yeah, Nuggets too.
Yeah. Anyway, enough playoffs.
It's just tough. I mean, the Suns haven't really had many injuries either.
Campaign's been out.
Oh, true.
And Chris Paul's going to pick up something in the next couple games. They got that guy playing 40 minutes a game. You can only dick punch so many times in 40 minutes per game.
They got to have a stat. Which advanced analytics site has that stat? I will pay for it. But Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles.
Let's determine Jingles here.
I said -1, but I mean, you could convince me of the no movement, but he just made so many dumb mistakes in this series.
I think he could talk me down. Didn't he throw that turnover late too?
Yeah, the one to Chris, where it was the challenge with Kyle Lowry. Yeah. It's like, just throw the pass to Chris Middleton. How about that? Which ended up costing the Bucks that game. I mean, it's one of the factors that cost the Bucks that game. But if you inbound that ball, the Bucks win that game.
Although he shot well, I don't think well enough to overcome everything else. And having less than a 2-to-1
not a good defender either.
Yeah,
at all.
Bad defender.
He was a turnstile.
Committed some bad fouls in the series. Yeah.
I'd say -1. We got to be harsh here, Ty. They lost in 5.
Yeah, okay.
I almost said to the Heat. I mean, I almost said to the Knicks.
It was the Heat. All right. I believe we have 3 players left. 3 players left.
Let's save the best for last out of the remaining guys.
Let's do Bobby Portis.
Yeah, let's do Bobby.
This was, I don't know.
I almost said no movement.
I ended up at -1.
I said no, but convince me.
He had one, I thought, really good game. He had one okay game. And then I thought, concerningly, the same issues he had against Boston cropped up again. Like, I don't know how much of it was just him not getting the touches, but his impact just decreased as the series went on. And I think some of it is defensively. Like, he didn't even look like he was in horrible positions most of the time, but guys just hit shots over him. I don't really know what it is, but they always do. Like, Bobby always gets shots hit right in his face. 27.8% from 3, which again, like, same as the Boston series. Like, his offense was as much of an issue as his defense. He wasn't that reliable presence. I remember I got sold a false bill of goods by Marcus Johnson. No disrespect to Marcus, who I'm a big fan of, but he was naming the 4 important Bucks players, and it was, with Chris's injury, it was like Giannis, Jrue, Brook, and Bobby, I think, or maybe it was Bobby over Brook, something like that. And Bobby has just not been that guy consistently in the playoffs. He had the great Suns series. He had some great moments against the Hawks. Obviously couldn't play against the Nets. Couldn't really play against the Celtics. Couldn't really play later in this series. Wasn't able to do the switching or keep up with Jimmy. No one could. But I think more concerningly, his offensive impact just wasn't enough because the shots just aren't falling like they used to. He had some great success early in the series, but as things tightened up, he was just getting the ball less and being able to score less. He shot well overall, so I didn't want to tear him apart. I didn't think he was terrible. Just didn't get that many opportunities and wasn't able to make as much of an impact after the first 2 games. So I went with -1. I mean, the defense isn't great, and the offense just wasn't consistently there enough for me.
Yeah, I think it's probably -1. I mean, he did have his moments. Like, it was tough. Like, he was being put in bad positions to succeed, and it's just a bad matchup for him. Like, the Heat are just uber athletic, and just Bobby's respectfully not.
Yeah, I mean, anyone outside of Kevin Love, it was hard to find a good place to put him.
Yeah, I mean, like, in game 2 early on, he was feasting, and a big reason why the Bucks ended up winning that game is because of Bobby Portis setting the tone early on, and just throughout the game, it was incredible to see Bobby perform. He just couldn't play later in the series. He absolutely couldn't. The Heat adjusted to it. I think it's -1.
Yeah, I mean, you look at game 4, he played 12 minutes and was 2 for 6. Game 5, he played almost 17 minutes, was 0 for 2. Like, that's 5 points between 2 games. He scored 9 points on 9 shots in game 3. So game 1, he had 21 and 8. I thought he was very good in the loss. Game 2, he was 13 but 15 boards and 5 assists, which is a career high for him in the playoffs. He had 1 assist in the other 4 games combined. Like, his impact just wasn't there outside of really those 2 games. I mean, after game 2, which, again, he was great through 2 games. He scored 14 points in about 52 minutes, which is just not going to cut it when you're a score-first player. I mean, the rebounding was fine. He had 18 boards total, but it wasn't enough of an impact. He also fouled out of game 3. So, yeah.
-1 it is. And here, okay, I think we can get to the most probably confusing player here.
Jevon?
In my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Well, where did you end up?
Ended up as no movement.
I think that's fair. I am going to disagree, though.
Okay.
I think it's close. I think Bobby and he are both close to -1, no movement. And I think Ingles is kind of in that zone, although we ended up -1 for all of them so far. He just shot the ball really bad. I mean, I think he didn't really have a place to make an impact defensively, and he didn't. Like that's Jevon's staple, and he just really wasn't able to do it. I think maybe he could have played himself into more minutes if Hero was healthy, because that was his big matchup, and he didn't really get to do it very often. But in 12 minutes per game, he scored 1.3 points. He scored less total points than Jae Crowder in the series, which is a problem. Shot 22% from the field and 14% from three. He was 2 for 9 total on shots in the series. Most of those were threes. I think he was 1 for 2 on twos. So it's not like
against a team like the Heat, who are just like big athletic guys, especially at the wing rotation.
He couldn't score at the rim unless he was
can't score at the rim. And it's just tough because I do think Jevon is a very, very valuable player and should be a part of this Bucks team going forward. Like we're all team Jevon over here.
Yeah. Hope he's back.
Okay. I was waiting for your response.
Yeah, I am.
Is Ti going to disagree with me?
No, he had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, no turnovers also. So not horrible in that department.
I think he just regressed too far into not being the offensive, like, versatile point guard that we had hoped he wanted to be. And it's tough. Like, this is just a big athletic team. And that's just sort of where a guy like Jevon will struggle. He just didn't make enough of an impact. I didn't think he was really a negative in terms of like everything else besides his shooting. But I just thought like that's where it gets you.
Yeah, and I think I went with -1 because
especially because like some of his shot selection too.
Yeah, so the one pull, I think he only took 1 pull-up 3, and it was really bad. And
it was very.
Yeah, I mean, if he made it, it would have been huge, but he missed it, and people were very upset. I didn't think it was a horrible shot because he's made them all year, but he missed it, and it really cost the Bucks. I think it's a minus because he wasn't really able to contribute enough outside of shooting. Like, that's what he had to do, and he couldn't. And that basically left him as not being able to contribute anything. Like I saw somebody tweeted like, oh, I can't believe Jevon didn't, like a non-Bucks person, can't believe Jevon didn't play much in another series. I was like, this is entirely different. You go back at Bucks Celtics, Jevon was good early in that series and then wasn't able to make an impact later. Jevon was not good when he did get to play in this series. So I understood him not playing as much as well. And I put -1 because he had an opportunity to come in and make a difference. Really wasn't able to do it. Didn't think he was atrocious, like overall as a performer. Just the threes didn't fall, and there really wasn't anything else he could add, which does speak to being a little limited as a player in this series, which is a minus to me.
That's fair. And I think considering we've given Jingles and Bobby both a -1, I think it's fair to give Jevon a -1 as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was just certainly after the season he had, you hoped he would be able to be a more consistent performer. I hope we get another chance to see Jevon in the playoffs on the Bucks because I'm still a believer, but this was not great tape. Although, again, I'm not going to write him off entirely because he was good early against Boston. So this could literally just be one shooting slump. I don't think he's not a playoffs guy, but he didn't look good in this series, and that has to count for something.
For sure. Let's get to a positive.
Thank God we're ending on one here.
Let's end on a positive note. Let's end on my +3 guy, Wes Matthews.
No argument from me. Easy +3. I think if the series wasn't so embarrassing, it would be +4.
If he was healthy the entire series, the Bucks win that series.
I don't know if they win. I don't know if he could even make that big of a difference.
That's fair. Because he'd still have Jrue freaking Holiday waving him off on D. I'm upset about it, Ty. I didn't even mention that in the Jrue Holiday section. Wes Matthews is doing an impeccable job defending Jimmy Butler. Drew's like, in the final moments when Miami's catching up, I got this. You know, I've been getting torched all season. I got 56 put on my head. And Jimmy's pointing to the Jumbotron saying, I own you. Look at the stuff I'm putting on your head. And he's like, I got this, Wes, this is a redemption arc for me. It's redemption time. And guess what? He just dug himself a bigger grave. That's what he did. He dug the Bucks grave, Jrue Holiday did. I'm so upset with Jrue Holiday.
I get it.
Let's get into the positive.
Yeah, don't ruin the West love.
Wes Matthews was incredible. This guy is playing on like half a body at this point.
Yeah.
Like half of him his ghost. but he's still out here like defending his butt off, pulling like just whatever stops he needs to, being a strong defender against Jimmy Butler. He's hitting sidestep threes in Game 5. Like his first shot attempt is a sidestep 3, and I'm like, Wes Matthews is the Bucks playoff savior, and he's out here just doing whatever needs to be done to win.
4 from 7 from deep in the series in 2 games.
Smart defender, smart player. He was shooting the ball really well. He was doing everything you could ask for a guy like Wes to do and more.
In 2 games, in 41 minutes, Wes scored 12 points on impeccable shooting, although he was 0 for 2 from 2. That's fine, Wes. We get it. 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 1 block, no turnovers, only 3 fouls, despite defending Jimmy Butler a lot of that time.
Physical defense as well.
Yeah, like he was terrific. And I get why people think he may be retiring because all the injuries, and I think he's 35 or 36 now. I don't know. I think he might come back. I think he really wants to get one. I hope he comes back to the Bucks. I would gladly take him.
You can put him on the shelf for the regular season too, and just save him for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what they did. And he's over the last 2 postseasons. So the 3 series are Bulls, Celtics, Heat. Wes has shot 42% from 3 for the Bucks. Like he's been a playoff performer the last 2 years. Unfortunately, it hasn't made enough of a difference due to outstanding circumstances around him. But Wes has been there, and to have a guy like that, you can just bring up, and he stays ready. He's a huge positive teammate. Like we've heard Marjan rave about him, that sort of thing.
Keep him around for Marjan, man.
Yeah, can't say enough good things about Wes. I really hope he comes back, and both to the NBA and to the Bucks, but at least to the league. We keep watching Wes play. Such a likable guy, so easy to root for. Was so ready for this series, even though us and others kind of just counted him out of the rotation, assuming these other younger guys would be better. They weren't. Wes was outstanding. Is the best perimeter defender the Bucks had in this series, the best overall defender the Bucks had in this series, and shot freaking 57% from 3. Like super small sample, but that Wes is a guy who steps into the moment and is better at pretty much every time.
You know what a comp is for him that I have? It might not be the best comp, but it's like late stage Andre Iguodala. A guy who can just stay on the bench, but is going to be ready when it comes to the games actually mattering.
Yeah, the play style couldn't be farther apart offensively, but
you see the vision, right?
Yeah, I see the vision.
A guy who's used to playing with the core, a guy who they can count on and will step up in the playoffs. You don't have to play him much in the regular season. Save his energy.
Yeah.
But when it comes to postseason time, you'll know he'll be ready to go.
He should win a champ. He's a guy who should have a championship in his career. I hope he can come back and get one. He is that kind of player, I think.
I think so too. Let's hope it's next year, man.
Yeah. So the +3 is unanimous then. There's no argument. Yes. I think if they win the series, it would have been a +4 for me. Like I just didn't think giving out a +4 was right. And obviously he's never going to do too much offensively, but he gave you what you need from Wes Matthews, given what he does defensively, honestly.
Yeah, also played only 2 games. He missed 3 games.
Yeah.
It's fair.
He gritted out. I mean, he came back from another calf injury, cold, and was just I'm the best Jimmy defender on the team, by the way. It's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. And he deserves his flowers, and I'm glad we can at least give him a +3 on the playoff stock market.
Us two are going to pass down the legend of Wes Matthews via oral history forever.
We're
going to be doing Gyro Step.
We can't let this die.
20 years from now, the Bucks are going to be asked because you pay the Giannis price. And we're just going to be it's a random May podcast. They're eliminated. And we're just let's do a Wes Matthews pod.
You know who would have been great on this team? 2020 Wesley Matthews.
2019, 2020, 21, not 21, 22 or 23. I wish he was there in 21. So bad. Would have been helpful too. Bad.
He would have been so helpful. Man. Can they just give him a rating?
I've got a comp.
Oh.
He's PJ.
Oh, man.
That's pretty much. Can't guard as big, but better guarding the perimeter and gives you a little more shooting. Doesn't give you the offensive rebounding, but.
Yeah, I guess. But I was saying in terms of age and staying ready.
Yeah, PJ plays a lot, for sure.
PJ starts for the 76ers, which is just crazy. He started their entire season and win Miami last year. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a different. Mine was, Iguodala is more like the role he had on the Bucks this year.
But sure. I think PJ, in terms of like the play style, I'll get with that one.
Yeah. We love Wes. Very pro. Wes Matthews, come on the Gyro Step, please.
Yeah, we're just gonna rave about you for like
Seriously.
2 hours. Yeah, like you'll cut off after half an hour because that's all you'll give us. But then we'll just stay on for an hour and a half. Like, man, that was awesome.
Remember when he said this? That was so sick. I'm glad we ended on Wes. That was one of the few positive notes. So to sum it up, we had what?
Everyone else sucked except Wes and Chris and Brook.
We had 5 positives and I think 7 negatives. So here's the full list. Yes, here's the full list. I'll go through them all. Giannis -1, Jrue a low mark of -4, Chris +2, Brook +2, Grayson +2, Pat +3, Bobby -1, Ingles -1, Wes Matthews +3, Jae Crowder -3, Jevon Carter -1. The story of the first round for the Miami Bucks. God, I just fumbled that 3 different ways. And then Marjan Thanasis, Myers Leonard, Goran Dragic. So we ended up no movements for guys who actually played, which I think is fine. We made decisions. We didn't sit on the fence.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think it is fair. I mean, like there were a bunch of guys who shot well, who did well, who played well. Unfortunately, there were a bunch of other guys who did not play well at all, and that's the story of the series, unfortunately, which is in the past. Like, we've been done for a few days now, Ty.
You know what? A take I had from this series.
What is that? Is that basketball? Everything is pain?
No.
Everything is pain.
Well, yeah. Yes. But and maybe we can end on this as just a thought exercise. And this, I think, will color a lot of our offseason content. I don't think it's that helpful to get a ball handler outside of the core 4. Because they don't end up with the ball enough. Because Jrue, Chris, Giannis do. Like, Ingles, despite the lack of athleticism, is a better distributor than Jrue, obviously flawed because of the athleticism and the defense. And then Chris, although Chris gets assists, he just doesn't have a handle. But getting that guy as a role player, because you don't want to trust your role player to have the ball 40 times in a deciding game, right? Like, Jrue was a nightmare and obviously should have had the ball less, but it's Jrue Holiday. Like, it's hard in the middle of a series to go, yeah, Jrue, you're just not going to handle the ball that much anymore, despite us, flip-flopping and now agreeing after the playoffs that he has not been a good enough playoff point guard. He's still on this team. He's the point guard, and it's just he's going to handle the ball. So I just think you if you want the offense to go better, unless you find you have some new system that's just going to enable guys to be better, I think you need a better ball handler in that core 4 just to justify having the ball that much. Like, it's kind of the same with Bobby. Like, Bobby Portis being an offensive first player, he's not going to get 20 touches a game late in a playoff series. Like, the value's not going to be there as much. I think they need a better offensive, like, playmaker, ball handler, distributor in the core 4 who they trust enough to have the ball. Maybe it's Chris, but I've always thought Chris would be a little better off ball more. Like, I think Giannis even would be a little better off ball more. They need to get organized. Maybe Jrue can help them with that in a system, but I just think, like, Ingles was fun, played his role, I think, pretty well overall on the whole, but I just think a guy on that level or even a little higher is not going to have the ball enough.
All I'm taking away from this, Ty, is that we need to get Joe Cronin on the phone.
Oh, Dame time?
Dame time. Or whatever. What are your thoughts here? We'll do a full pod here, but what's your thoughts on Jalen Green, just quickly?
I'm intrigued by it. So I would hate to give up Chris in that deal. That would hurt. If it's Jrue and they're interested, like Jrue Harden is like kind of an interesting. I'll counter you with another young player. Let's say the Dame is locked in. The Blazers want to build around him. Anthony Simons and stuff for Jrue. Get Jrue next to Dame. You don't find Simons as intriguing?
No.
Do you find Green more intriguing?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I agree. I agree with that. I don't think Portland...
Jalen Green's a much better shot maker and shot creator than Anthony Simons.
If Portland had like a better like, oh, he can start and be an upgrade guy who they could throw in, I'd be more interested. They do. What
about they do? They do though. Just not at the guard position. Yeah, I know.
You're talking about Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
He's a free agent. They can't sign and trade for guys. They won't have the money.
No, I understand that, but I just wanted to float that.
Grant and Simons, I'm thinking about more. I mean, it's you downgrade your top end talent, but you get more like plus players, and you get younger.
Shaedon Sharpe, by the way, if we're talking Portland, can jump high, but can do nothing else.
He's too raw. Like Jalen Green is a little raw, but he's already like a 21-4-4 guy. So it's like he's raw.
I mean, it's horrible efficiency, but he has like good shot making quality.
Yeah, and he's on the fucking Rockets. Like, yeah, he would look a lot better playing with Giannis. Like I see this. I don't buy this. Like, oh, he's just a bad team like stats guy. Yeah, he's a guy who can do a lot of good things. Who's on a bad team. Like Jalen Green, year 2 couldn't make a horrible trying to lose. Bad coach roster win games. I'm not going to write off his career. I feel like we've done this too many times. Devin Booker? Remember when Devin Booker was he might be the best player in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, it's insane.
And I'm surprised you didn't give me a reaction there. He's been like 36 points a game on insane efficiency.
Oh, I can't fight you on that. Like, no, I absolutely can't fight you on that. He has been. He might be the best player in the playoffs. Like, and they still might lose in the second round.
Yeah, I mean they need some depth.
What if Phoenix trades for Kevin Durant and doesn't get as far as they did last year, which was Game 7 of Round 2?
I wouldn't be stunned. I don't think they have depth. I just think the Nuggets are a bad matchup for a lot of teams.
Like their bench is your guy, Twitter alerts himself, Bismack Biyombo.
He's like their sixth most important player. They're in hell.
Landry Shamet and like
they're praying Campaign gets back, who was the worst player in the NBA like 3 years ago, probably four or 5 years ago now. But I think the Nuggets are thin, but the Suns are ridiculously thin. Anyway, I agree with you on Simons. I think Dame is the only Blazer. I don't think that will ever happen. By the way, it would be fun. He tweeted and then unretweeted a Giannis Blazers Photoshop, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that.
Like I did. Like you can have your fanfics. Like the Bucks are not trading Giannis to the Trailblazers,
and that's what their folks are saying about Dame too. But back to Jalen Green. Not a perfect player. Certainly gives them the kind of things they don't have right now, though. Right, like can handle the ball, can score from all over. Would be one of their best athletes. Like Jalen Green posters people, they don't have that at all. And I do think. Like my most intriguing archetype, if we're going like star shopping this summer with very limited assets, is someone who you can look at and go, oh, that player Giannis pick and roll is going to break the league. Like that's what I want. And I think Jalen Green could get there. Also, the age is nice. He's 22, I think. So almost too young, but I think because he's good enough now, he's not too young.
He's 21.
21, yeah. So I think he'll be 22 by the start of next year or something. Maybe not even.
His birthday is February 9th, 2002.
So yeah,
which
not
is
even
insane to say
until the All-Star break. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. These guys are 2000.
But what was he last year? Like 20, 21, 4-4, I think. More points.
He was 22, 4-3 basically.
Yeah, well, 3-7, 3-7. Yeah, just under 4 on both. And I think that situation was a mess. He shot 47% from 2 on a lot of attempts, 33.8% from 3, which isn't great, but the looks are going to be a lot different if you're playing with Giannis Antetokounmpo versus...
It's 2 seasons in a row at around 34%.
Yeah, but on high volume, which I like. I think that's... And he's around an 80% free throw shooter too, which usually bodes well for guys on shooting threes. I don't know. I'm intrigued by that. Like I would understand
if they had to, like, let's say Chris opts out and says, "I'm going to the Rockets." Yeah, give me Jalen.
Yeah, I don't imagine you would in that scenario, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What about like Jrue for Jalen? You are giving up you're giving up the plus Holiday stuff and getting the minus Holiday stuff. They're like opposite players.
Yeah, you'd have to get some picks from the Rockets. You just would.
I don't think they're doing that though.
Because Jrue Holiday is a better player.
Yeah. I mean, I found it fascinating that they would even talk about trading Jalen Green.
Especially after because they know they're getting James Harden.
Yeah. That's crazy to me.
It's insane.
I mean, I think Jalen Green could end up being a superstar.
He could. He absolutely.
And
could.
it might. I mean,
like,
year 3 is a leap year for a lot of guys.
When's the last time the Bucks had like a top end? Like this guy was the 2nd overall pick 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Michael Carter Williams.
Yeah, he was only the 10th pick though.
Yeah, one rookie of the year.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No, he was the first pick. Was he 10th?
No, he was not. Yeah,
okay.
He was Michael Carter.
No, he was
Williams.
not first. Yeah, I know.
He was the 11th.
11th pick. Yeah, he peaked very early.
Yeah.
What about
first game? Literally, he peaked when he had that triple double against LeBron.
The Heatles. Yeah. This is one I think people hate. I'm very intrigued though. Okay. Kind of a similar player. Trae Young. I think this is totally on the table. I think totally a possible thing. And I understand. Really, if you want to say the opposite Jrue, that would be if the trade is some form of Jrue for Trae Young, you are literally getting opposite player. You obviously would need to add some defense to account for Trae Young. My God, would the Trae Young Giannis pick and roll be fun? And you can look at Trae's efficiency and say it's not good enough. He doesn't move off ball. All of this stuff. I think every player's efficiency goes up playing with Giannis. The looks are just going to be different. Also, like, imagine Giannis rolling shooters around Trae Young, who is, on a bad team, a 30 and 10 assist guy.
I say yes. I absolutely say yes.
It would be they'd be an entirely different team overnight. Like, we had never seen anything like this. And if Chris is still there, then it's like, okay, your offense is suddenly like just ridiculous.
Yeah, then you're just a mid defensive team then?
Yeah, probably.
Mid to bad?
Well, it's like how much can like if Brook comes back and he's able to stay on the floor.
Trae Young, Brook Lopez pick and roll. That's just asking so much from Brook.
It is.
Oh my God, the Bucks would have a lob passer.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, they'd have a lob passer.
How much can you count on Bucks culture to make him not the worst defender in the league?
Well,
that's what it comes down to.
Unless they're giving him height surgery, it's a little difficult.
Well, can you get him in the weight room? Can he be a little stronger?
Yeah, just put him on that Giannis weight regimen.
Yeah.
Like, can you do that? Maybe. Imagine Trae Young just comes back and it looks like you ever see Dalton Triggs photoshops of Dwight Powell?
Yeah.
Like, imagine if Trae Young comes back after an offseason looking like that.
He, Giannis, Pat are just in the weight room the whole offseason.
They just come back, and this guy he looks like SpongeBob when he puts on the fake muscles.
Yeah. I don't want to say I'm totally sold like you did, because I feel like it's too reactionary right now. I want to think more about it, but I am very intrigued by that idea, like of a player like that who's just like, okay, let's go from a sluggish offense to a totally wide open offense. Like, you're able to now, like, I just can't imagine that team would be lower than a top 3 offense.
Can I interest you in one possible sign and trade possibility that might break your brain?
Yes.
Chris Middleton for the guy that's going to Houston. Or Jrue Holiday for the guy that's going to Houston.
Harden. I don't think they can take a sign and trade.
Yeah,
I think they're because they'd be over
Harden's
the hard cap thing.
He'll take less money though.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I would certainly take it. I think even like there's this consensus that Harden is worse now and has declined, which I think is true. Decline Harden is like 25 and 12 or something. Like, would still be a guy who totally opens up the offense. I worry about the playoff stuff a lot, of course. That's the thing about Trae. I think that's really why I would end up saying yes to Trae, despite the defensive stuff. He's still kind of been a dude in the playoffs overall. Like, he's had some great moments in the playoffs.
Like, look at his last playoff, like his second to last playoff game. They did push Boston. They almost went to 7.
Yeah, and DeJounte was bad in that series too.
He was so bad. He was so bad. Game 6 was it Game 5? Yeah, Game 5 in Boston. And this DeJounte Murray is suspended because he's just being dumb.
Yeah.
And then, like, Trae Young comes out here and is doing really, really well. Comes out here down 1. Hits a 40-footer to take the lead. Like, the Bucks do not have a guy who does that.
This playoffs against Boston, maybe the best defensive team left in the playoffs. probably has the best guard defenders in the playoffs between Marcus Smart and Derek White. Like that is, I think Boston is the team best equipped to pressure point guards. Trae Young, 29, 10 assists, 40% from the field because he was only 33% from 3, 44% from 2. So not elite efficiency. Guess what? The Bucks guards are not usually elite efficiency guys in the playoffs either, and they're not putting up 29 points and 10 assists.
No.
Trae and Giannis would be a blast. And he's like 24.
Trae and Giannis would be
like
explosive.
The age thing is perfect. Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're getting way ahead of ourselves. It's way too early. But they put out there that they might trade him before the play-in games. And he went out and kind of hooped in those games, which I think is promising. I like Trae.
He did. I like Trae. Ice Trae.
You definitely want to keep Jevon if you get Trae Young. Like, you're going to need some guard defense.
You need to keep Jevon.
Probably need to do some
It's
offense.
Javon's choice, right? It's a player option.
Yeah. Or just where he wants to sign and everything else. They can... We'll do a bunch of more like full detailed offseason pods. Like they can give him the Bobby deal basically if they want to. I don't know if we're gonna see that level of deal. But let us know what kind of coverage you folks are looking for. I mean, we have a lot of ideas. We're gonna keep coming at least one pod a week here at the Gyro Step. Monday Gyro Steps. You all know to expect that. But if there's anything you're really wondering about, should we dive in deeper on some of these candidates already? Is there anything else more pressing? Well, let us know. Let us know on Repod, the #1 podcasting platform here at GSPN. Download Repod on the App Store or find the link to our specific podcast pages at gspn.info. But we're always looking for feedback, especially in the offseason. Probably have to do a mailbag here soon, Rohan. I don't know where everyone is at.
We're in the offseason.
Yeah, we're totally in the offseason.
Oh, man. It's gonna be a longer offseason than usual, too. So what happens when you lose in the first round?
Well, we got 4 months until Giannis is at Eurobasket, and
which they're in the same group as Team USA. So if Giannis plays in the World Cup, Did you say Eurobasket?
Yeah, sorry, I keep doing that.
It's a World Cup.
I know. Yeah, they just did Eurobasket. Yeah.
Yeah. So if Giannis plays in the World Cup, which all indications are that he will, we're going to get Giannis versus Team USA. We might see Giannis versus Chris.
That's what I was going to say. We might get Giannis Chris.
Or Giannis versus Jrue.
Yeah.
Giannis might just hunt Jrue Holiday on defense and be like, that's how it feels, my guy.
I own you.
I own you. Okay, I'm glad we got a Sophie cameo.
Sophie's back, yeah.
And if you're not on YouTube, racking up this absolutely wonderful Sophie content, make sure you subscribe at Gyro Step Podcast Network on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast platform of choice, or like I mentioned, on YouTube. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating on your podcast platform of choice. Check out gspn.info for all of our links. Find Cruising for Bruising, Talk of the Tundra, Make Time for This, all of that fun stuff. Substack. Jordan's been writing on the Substack.
Jordan said he's going to write a lot. So I'm excited to read all of what he has to say about the Bucks and I think some Packers. Packers ink coming from Jordan too. So I'm going to have to dip the pen again soon as well. But right now, Jordan's our Substack all-star. Eugene does some good writing there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to get all that, check it out. The link is at gspn.info. Our merch store is there as well, a Discord link. Playback link. We might do some fun playbacks in the off season. We'll let us know what you want to see, like Ty mentioned earlier. But pod random, and we will talk to you next time.